Crouse.
Do you feel a responsibility to Joan Jett and Cherie Currie and the other members of the Runaways and Kim Fowley to tell the story in a certain way, or did you just say, you know what, we're making a movie, it's not a history lesson, we're doing something?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a documentary, and I didn't want to make a biopic. You know, it was more about these two girls growing up in this world. So, yeah, sure, you feel a responsibility, but I wanted to kind of, capture the essence of the truth and what was it like to be 15 and go through all this. Rather than, they played here and then they played there and this is how the crowd reacted. I mean, it was, I injected those things in there for sure and how the world reacted to them. There are scenes of that, kind of Joan getting hit, kind of coming up against walls and stuff. But, they're all there for her character, just to kind of inform you of her sort of perseverance more than not, this actually happened at this club, and that's what they said.
Well, I think a lot of the storytelling is done non-verbally, which I liked. And there's I think my favorite scene after I saw it again last time for the second time, and I think my favorite scene comes just after the dressing room scene. It is the song, and I think it's called Dead End Kids, Dead End Girls. The song that they play on stage where they're twirling, there's a lot of movement. And
yeah.
And I love that.
Justice.
Yeah, I love that sequence because it could have been what could have been just a musical sequence, could have been a music video in the middle of a movie. Actually, sort of suggested to me that they're kind of spinning out of control. There was storytelling within the visuals of it, and not even necessarily lyrically or anything. I didn't pick up on that as much, but visually, I really thought that I was being told something that was going to move the story a little bit forward.
Yeah, for me, it was those kinds of things that were important because it's I wanted to keep it very real. It was just trying to find those visual cues that do that, in the way that Joan, when she's writing her song, that's another place, too, where she feels a little bit lost and she becomes very small in this big body of water. Just finding those things that kind of feel natural to the storytelling, and like you said, kind of hopefully inform you a little bit more, take you further into the story without having to create a whole scene about, that.
Now, how have the real-life people reacted to the film? I know that they're out talking about the film. They're doing promo for it. So, and Joan Jett is one of the producers of the film. When, because it's a different thing. A script is a different thing than a finished movie. Seeing yourself portrayed 40 feet high on a big screen is a different thing than you would imagine. How have they reacted?
I think it's, a little surreal for them, for sure. I mean, if you could imagine that about yourself, But I don't know. We've been kind of in the flurry of this press thing, so I haven't really sat them down and asked them, but I'm sure it's all in print somewhere. I'm sure people have asked them.
I'll do a Google search and find
please.
out that. Yeah.
Tell me.
Tell me, we've just got a couple of minutes left. Tell me a little bit about working with Michael Shannon, because I think he's fantastic as Kim Fowley here in a performance that could have gone off the rails, I think, quite easily. So tell me a little bit about working with him, and did you have to rein him in? Did you say go further? What was the sort of the working relationship between you?
Well, I think he really captured the spirit of Kim Fowley.
Because you had interviewed Fowley as well for this, right? You had met with him?
Yeah. Oh, that was really great and unusual and memorable, and I'll never...
in what way was it memorable?
Well, wow. I mean, when you meet Kim Fowley, you don't forget him.
Yeah.
And he came in with a sound track to his whole interview. He put in a soundtrack. And it was just music that he had made. And he actually had a voiceover to it. It was really great. It was amazing. And then he came in with boxes of books, of all the books that he'd been mentioned in. And there was some, all these musical artists, piles and piles and articles and things. And he came very well prepared, but it was like watching a performance.
Yeah.
It really was amazing. So yeah, I was a little bit nervous when I wrote it, because he talks with such a mouthful, and it can, like you said, it could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
And I think Michael Shannon really owned it, and he owned the sort of the darkness with the humor at the same time. I really wanted somebody to capture that. And especially since Joan took him very differently, kind of as a friend, and it was kind of funny, and Cherie took him very seriously in a very different, deeper way. She maybe looked at him maybe as a father figure when he obviously couldn't be. And so that kind of got distorted and messed up. And so I think he really did a great job. And yeah, I don't think because he was so believable, he could go far with it. You know, it was about, and for me, it was about being very physical. Because everything that I read about him, he was physical in his space. He really owned, he would walk the space. And when you meet him, he's 6'4", and he takes his cane and he does this. So he's like 10 feet tall, and so he is very physical. Yeah. It's not just about the words. And so if there was any direction, it was about that being physical with your actions. He was used his hands a lot. If you watch him on the Tom Snyder Show, right. Which I know that Michael Shannon had that repeatedly on in his trailer, so he knew it better than I did at the end. But he just uses his hands. He's just very, very delicate and monstrous at the same time.
By having them rehearse in that little trailer too, it really accentuates how physical he is, because it's such a small space, and yet he's leaping around
far from hitting the ceiling. Too, so you can really feel his height compared to the girls. Yeah,
maybe my favorite line in the film is, "I'm Kim Fowley. You know who I am."
Yeah,
that's awesome.
You heard of me.
You heard of me. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You.
Pleasure to meet you.
Richard